Jenny Slatten gives up. Wants her independence back after moving in with Sumit's family. It was supposed to be the start of a new chapter. In early summer, Jenny Slatten packed up her life in Oregon, her familiar landscape, her routines, her sanctuary, and flew across continents to begin what she hoped would be an adventure, a union, and a fresh life with Sumit, to live in India, with his family, to become part of something bigger than just two people in love, to build, to belong. But now, after several weeks of adapting, compromising, and stretching herself thinner than she ever thought possible, Jenny is, quietly, almost secretly, growing tired. Strain has crept into the rooms of this cross-cultural experiment. Tensions have built under polite smiles, and in her heart, Jenny is beginning to wonder, has she given up more than she ever intended? Has she surrendered too much of her independence, her identity? The move, hope, promise, reality. When Jenny first learned of Sumit's living arrangements, that he lives with his parents, that the house is full of extended family members and friends who drop in, she admits she was both curious and daunted. Back in the States, she was used to space, personal time, a schedule where days were hers, choices hers. Even if the relationship involved compromise, as all good relationships do, Jenny believed that she could maintain a semblance of her old self. But love and life had a different plan. The reality of moving in with Sumit's family has meant shared bathrooms, shared chores, shared etiquette, and with that, the daily micromanagement of what was once second nature. Rituals of respect, boundaries that weren't rigid, but very, very real. Early mornings when the house wakes with cooking and prayer, late nights of talking and laughter in hallways, and in between, Jenny finds herself missing the simplicity of deciding what to eat, when to wake, when to rest, without thought for the rhythms of others. 2. The costs of compromise. Jenny has always prided herself on being fiercely independent. Prior to the move, she was her own navigator, working her job, making her own plans, storing memories in the edges and corners of her life she designed for herself. Here, she still works, still smiles, still tries, but she routinely compromises, some small, some large, on things she didn't expect she would have to. Morning rituals are first. In Oregon, Jenny used to have coffee on her own porch, in slippers, wrapped in a blanket, watching dew settle on leaves. Here, the kitchen rises early, aromas of spices and frying oil, women in headscarves calling out over the din, dishes stacking up, Sumit's mother asking who will chop onions, who will stir, who will clean. Jenny finds her morning peace impossible to claim. Wardrobe is another. Though Sumit's family is warm, they also observe modest dress conventions in public and in social situations. Long sleeves, long skirts or pants, covered shoulders, layers, fabrics that breathe, no revealing cuts. Jenny, used to more relaxed fashion in Oregon, now spends more time worrying if her clothes are appropriate, if they'll offend, if they'll attract attention. Everything she chooses is filtered through cultural expectations she never anticipated having to navigate so tightly. Personal space, perhaps, is the most invisible but the most precious. In Oregon, Jenny had her own bedroom, her own desk, her own corner of solitude. Here, she shares walls, shares family routines, shared everything. Even when alone, she feels exposed, always in relation to others. There is little privacy, little time that is just hers, undisturbed. As the days progress, these small costs aggregate. They weigh on her mind, on her spirit, and what had been this will be fine, this is just new begins to feel like this is too much. 3. The turning point. It was after a week rotating through shifts of chores, waking early to help Sumit's mother prepare breakfast, joining in with siblings over lunch, greeting guests in the evening, that the turning point came. It wasn't one big explosive moment, just a quiet, nearly invisible one. Jenny woke up before dawn, as was expected, and silently slipped out to fetch water. In the dim light, dew-kissed grass under her sandals, she paused. The sky was turning pale pink, a promise of sunrise, and she felt something like grief, a longing for the Oregon sky, for the silence before morning, for solitude, for the kind of quiet that doesn't need to accommodate anyone else. In that moment she realized she had given up something essential, not love, not commitment, but the freedom to choose, the space to compose her own day, the ability to breathe without mediation, and she resented what she had assumed would come naturally, her own agency. When she returned, breakfast was already underway. There were smiles, questions. Sumit's mother asked where she'd been. Jenny said nothing, just fetching water. The conversation moved on, but Jenny sat there with tension beneath her ribs. She realized that morning that the ambition to become part of Sumit's family was overshadowing her own sense of self. 4. Desires for independence. In the days that followed, Jenny began to articulate, first in her journal, then in private conversations, what she truly needed: time for herself, an hour or two each day to do what she loves, uninterrupted. Read, write, draw, walk solo, no obligation, no performance, no worry that she is acting foreign, control over her routines, what she eats, when she bathes, what she wears, when she wakes up, little choices that in the past she took for granted, space, not just physical, but emotional, moments where she isn't under observation, where she isn't expected to conform, where she can be messy, spontaneous, alone, respect for her differences, where her culture, her values, her preferences are honored, not judged or overridden. She wants to belong, but not vanish. Shared decision-making with Sumit, not just about big things, marriage, children, but daily things: how the household works, how their joint life will integrate both their backgrounds. These are not radical demands, they are the building blocks of dignity, of autonomy, yet in context, they feel heavy. They require boundary setting, they require conversations with people who see together not always as both but sometimes you become like us. Jenny, for all her love, has begun to fight to preserve the me and we. The conflict, navigating love and self. Of course, this desire for independence hasn't gone unnoticed. Sumit, torn between his love for Jenny and his loyalty to family norms, feels the tension. His mother notices she's quieter, more withdrawn. His siblings comment she's less like the American Jenny they met on 90-Day Fiancé, less flashy, less outspoken. His father, ever polite, gives subtle looks,